All right, everybody. This is the Digital Craft, the radio show. I feel like I should be talking about this in a very exciting voice because this is an intro with intro music. I should talk about being an underground bunker or being amazing or being at the top of Mount Rushmore or Mount something. But really, we're just going to do a quick break in the music, and then we're going to come in with a subtle, poorly looped track. This is going to get us a little more comfortable towards the topics we're talking about, which is computers, internet, websites, graphic design, programming, music. And this is the start of the show and the end of the intro.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Craft. This is episode 10. I am your host, Alan Quant, from the Digital Craft. Today I'm doing it solo, and it's pre-recorded. I'd like to pretend and say that this is live, but it's not. It's live right now, but it won't be by the time you hear it. Like I said, this is episode 11 or 10. We're going to talk about a couple items that kind of hit close to home to me, and that are it's more educational items than anything. Less on the digital, more on the educational, more on the craft. We're going to talk about ADD, which is what it was called when I was a kid, and what I was diagnosed with, along with pretty much every other child in the 90s in high school. And I believe it's now ADHD spectrum. So it's more like the autism spectrum. We have the ADHD spectrum. And quite honestly, I'm finding some correlations between the two, at least from my own research anyways. I can't say that scientifically. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk, towards the end, we're going to talk just a bit about bullying in schools. And just to be clear, you know, I'm an American, so I'm going to talk about American schools, my own insight, experience, etc., etc. So I don't know how well this translates throughout the world. I'm sure every country, city, state, province has their own issues with these things, and how they handle them, I don't know. But I do know how America handles them, and more specifically, I know how my state and city handles them, as well as, you know, watching how other states and cities handle them here in the country. Honestly, I think bullying and the whole idea of not ADHD, but more like, what do you do with this child? I've often thought, ever since I was a child, I've thought, what is wrong with me? And do you know why I asked that? I asked that because other people asked that. So I started asking it. And I still ask it. I still wonder, what is wrong with me? And I'm sure my wife would say she's got some answers to that one. But yeah, more in a overall spectrum. Why does my brain work a certain way? Why does others work a different way? Why do some other brains work like mine, sort of like mine, not at all like mine? Where do I fit in? How do I learn? How do I continue? How do I get along in this life? And I venture to say that as a soon-to-be 32-year-old, there are probably millions of children out there thinking the same thing, whether they're the most popular kid in school or the most picked on kid in school. They're all wondering the same thing. What am I doing? How do I continue? Why am I like I am, and why are they like they are? Why do I get along with these people? Why do I not get along with these other people? And yeah, that's a bunch of randomly rhetorical questions, but we'll start with me. I excelled until about third grade, and I'm going to slide in the second topic here just a little bit, but when bullying hit its hardest, or when it started hitting its hardest, it was obvious that my interest in school declined, And from third grade on, and that's including third grade, my grades just declined and steadily stayed at just barely making it. And I have to attribute that to the conditions that I was in school, not at home. Now, I want to talk about bullying later, but I will, just to give a preface here, since I am talking about myself, that bullying started the moment I entered school. The moment I got on the school bus, actually. When I was in kindergarten, the first day on the school bus, I was introduced to bullying. You know, I was picked on a little bit by neighborhood kids and things like that, and, you know, maybe I picked back a little bit, and it was all friendly for the most part. But once I got on a school bus, that all changed. But it wasn't until third grade that I think, in my young mind, I gave up. Not on education, not on, you know, learning and wanting to do something with myself, be somebody, be alive, but I gave up on school. I gave up on how they wanted me to do it and at what rate, what pace. I wasn't slow by any means. However, you might have thought that if you were one of my teachers, just by looking at my grades. But my grades were not reflecting what was actually getting into my brain. My test scores were generally A and B. I mean, sometimes I didn't do very well. You know, not all topics, you know, are for me or for you. But for the most part, I got good grades on my tests. I just never did my homework. I never wanted to. I mean, I might have before third grade. But really, what was homework before third grade? I don't even remember. But I remember in fourth grade, I think it was, that I was handed a spelling book. And I thought, well, I can do this. So I thought it would be neat to go through and do as many of the, or as much of the book, that is, as possible. Skip ahead. Show the teacher how quickly I can learn and what I can learn. I'd like to think that I was trying to get out of school quicker, but I don't remember what my little mind was thinking back then. But I did know that I wanted to impress the teacher. I wanted to show I'm not an idiot, but, you know, something's wrong. And I did this, and I was rewarded with a new spelling book and told to stick with the class. Don't go ahead. And whether that was politics, laziness, or whatever on my teacher's behalf, I don't know. But at that point, I stopped wanting to go ahead. I stopped wanting to, you know, as I say, in third grade, I kind of stopped caring about school, but then that experience stuck with me as well in fourth grade, that I just didn't want to impress anybody, that's for sure. It obviously wasn't rewarded. Now I get the idea of structure and all that, and it's important, but how you handle these situations are also important. I did not do anything wrong. Nobody told me not to do that. Yet I was shown that it was wrong. So skip ahead. You know, like pretty much every set of schools. Elementary, I went to two different schools. I went to private school, and by fourth grade, I was sent into public schools. And then in middle school, I went to a public school, and then I switched to what was called a magnet school here, which focused a lot more on the arts and you know, music and, you know, all that in general. And that was one of the first great moves my parents made. The school was still a public school. It still had all the problems that I had from every school, especially with bullying and all that. I was a mark, and many children or parents of children now will know what I mean by that. There's a target on your back, and you don't know why. As a kid, I was a tall, lanky, nerdy-looking kid with glasses and braces. And so on. And again, I won't get into that now. But, you know, that all that stuff's still carrying, you know, that's all on my back. as I moved school to school, grade to grade. And, my grades never really, they never got better. They stayed at D's, and usually that was because my parents fought for me to be able to pass. What can my child do to pass this year? Pass your science class, pass your math class. And they would give me some assignments to make up just so I could barely slip by. And, I actually appreciate that on the teacher's behalf. The teachers generally had very good things to say about me as far as personality. I was a nice guy. I wasn't mean to anybody. I just was disengaged. And that disengagement then led to high school, where at that point in time, anybody my age knows that ADD was the thing. If you didn't like school, if you didn't do your homework, if you preferred to play video games or watch TV, you were ultimately an ADD kid, and let's eat Ritalin. So being diagnosed as an ADD kid, which I remember the tests, they weren't, there was no SAT, that's for sure. It was random weird tests listening to sounds and recalling things and stuff like that, and whether the accuracy was remotely legitimate, or the test in general was legitimate, I don't know. I do know that I have trouble focusing my thoughts. I'm a visual person. I have trouble reading. I love books. I love learning from books, but it's extremely hard for me to learn from books. Thus is one of the reasons why I started making video tutorials about a year and a half ago, maybe more. I don't even remember how long I've been doing that. But it was because I realized that I learned from those. I became a web programmer, web developer, specifically 100% from a combination of books and videos, and mostly videos. The books helped, and then the videos sealed the deal. The books showed me some of the terms, they got them rattling in my head, but then the videos applied them, allowed me to apply them, allowed me to follow along and learn at an accelerated rate. And then I made a career out of it. I had already had a degree, but it was in a different field. It was in design and visual media, and all of a sudden now I'm working as a programmer. Now I jumped ahead for a reason. The idea of visual learning and things like that, I realize now, as an adult, that the tools, or tools, but Ritalin, things like that, I take that now on my own will. I'll get back to that in high school, but I do take that now as an adult to keep things kind of in order in my brain. It does help, but I chose to do it as an adult 15 years later. Now in high school I was given Ritalin, and I want to say it was only 2 weeks, but I think it was a little bit longer, but I took it for a while, and I noticed a change, a good change. It wasn't a high dose. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't high. But I did notice a change. I noticed a change at work, at my first job at a famous fast food restaurant. In fact, I remember a specific situation where somebody had spilt their strawberry milkshake out in the lobby, and I needed to clean it up. And that was the moment when I realized that there was something different in my brain. And it's sounding kind of weird, but as I was mopping up that milkshake, I realized how focused I was on it, on the task at hand, cleaning it up and getting back to what I needed to do so I could go home. Now that may seem strange, stupid, I don't know, but I don't know, I noticed it. And that's one of the main reasons why I decided to start taking it as an adult, because I did notice something. However, as a kid, as a high school student, after that day, I didn't like it anymore. And I attribute it to being partially from my circumstances, my environment at school, the increasing amount of bullying, and really not even increasing. It just kind of, it's the same stuff over and over, or same amount of things. It just, but they stack up. It's like a I can think of it as like Santa Claus carrying a bag of gifts, only I'm carrying a bag of insults and things like that, and the bag is just growing and growing. So I've got that, and then now I'm taking this pill that makes me think differently and act differently, and I had enough. I didn't want to be somebody else. I didn't want to have to take something to be somebody else. And as a kid, why would I? Why would I want to be looked at differently or have to do things in order to just be like everybody else? And hence the question, what is wrong with me? Why am I different? And really, I am different. You're different. We're all different. We're different colors, different sizes, different shapes, different brains, different muscles, different everything. Some of us like sports, some of us like computers. Some of us don't like anything. Some of us are just bad. Who knows? But we're all different. And the standard school system, to me, is outdated. I've watched several lectures and videos that delve deeper into that. You might check out RSA Animate and their video on the education system and how it's out of date. How we are way past that in our evolution. We need a new system. We can't box kids up by grade levels or by years or ages. I mean, why should a 9-year-old have to learn the same as another 9-year-old or at the same pace? Why would a 9-year-old have to be stopped in order to stay with the other 9-year-olds? Things like that. And the other thing, I remember I watched recently a lecture by Temple Grandin, the wonderful woman who's a high-functioning, very, very high-functioning and brilliant woman, or high-functioning, woman with Asperger's. But she's a brilliant woman, extremely, extremely brilliant, has done amazing things in the agricultural world, as far as animals are concerned and conditions, things like that. I don't want to go too deep into that because I'd have to do more research to make sure I'm saying everything right. But anyways, I watched a lecture by her, and she really hit home with that. She spoke about how to deal with people that were like her. When your child does have Asperger's, or your child in general is just kind of disengaged, and why do they like video games? Why would they rather watch TV? Why would they rather do this? Why would they rather do anything in the world than school? And I believe her answer, as well as something I heard in that RSA Animate video, is that they're bored. They're bored. That's it. Now, that may not be the answer to everybody, but to a lot of kids out there, they're bored. The school system is so standardized and boring. It does not cater to special people. And I don't mean special education as much as I mean just children, people who learn a different way, have interests in different areas. It doesn't cater to them. It caters to the ideal, run-of-the-mill human. And I'm sorry to say that we're not in that age anymore. We don't have many run-of-the-mill humans anymore. We have a bunch of people with brilliant minds that will grow, and they will grow in the direction that they are led. A woman I was chatting back and forth with on the Stand for the Silent group, a bullying activist group. I'm sure they probably have a better name, and I apologize if I misrepresented that. But she mentioned things about, a child as a tree, and that, the branches grow as a child, and where they grow is very important. And, and I responded to her and mentioned, that a lot of children, their branches start growing downward again. The trunk starts and then these branches start coming out, and then all these things happen as a child, and they start going downward. These children that become adults around 20 years of age, they could live for another 80 years if grown right, if nurtured right, if the attention was given to them correctly. They could grow into an amazing, beautiful tree, or they could grow into a willow tree, where all the roots, or all the, branches start aiming back down and touching the ground again. And that's what a lot of our children are doing right now. It's no wonder that our prison systems are ridiculously overpopulated. We have all these people, all these confused people that they don't fit in, made mistakes, get sucked up in a system, and I guarantee you a lot of those people were damaged for the beginning, and it's not fair. Now, I'm not standing up for any crimes or things that people have done, horrendous or minuscule. Wrong is wrong. The law, I guess, is the law. But that doesn't make them any less of a person. Doesn't mean they don't deserve a chance. And I think that chance needs to be done in school. It needs to start in the beginning. Just like a plant, just like a tree. We need to water and nurture correctly. We need to pay attention when a child is disengaged. And barring any severe deficiencies, the kid's probably just bored, looking for a different avenue, a different way to learn, or a different direction. If the things that I was doing at home when I was a kid, since I was lucky enough for my parents to snatch up a computer when I was a young kid, and they didn't know much what to do with it at the time, so I decided I'd learn. I had nothing to do but hide from everybody, so I figured I would learn how to use this beautiful old DOS computer, size of my desk, and that helped. I would say that saved me, but it I mean, in a sense, it's given me a career, but I was given an outlet, something outside of school, sadly. And if you think about it, or if I think about it, I didn't learn a single thing in school outside of maybe spelling and grammar, which I'm not really that good at anyways, but aside from that, and basic mathematics, so basically elementary school, and maybe pieces and parts of middle and high school, most of what I've used as an adult has come from my own ambition, my own learning, my independent learning, my learning as a child, my taking apart a computer and breaking it, and then learning how to make it work again before my parents found out I broke it. My picking up my mother's guitar and learning how to take the noises that I liked and turn them into a song, which then moved into piano. It allowed me to start composing using a piano, when I acquired a keyboard, I started writing on a keyboard and recording on a computer, etc., etc. Same with arts. All this stuff. It's all stuff that I learned on my own. And that's not to say that, I'm not saying school was worthless or anything like that, but the majority of things that I do as an adult, I learned on my own as an adult. Now, I did learn a good amount from the two colleges I went to. However, those are still just tidbits. I don't want to talk bad about the colleges necessarily that I went to, but what I don't like is the amount of money that I had to spend, that many others have to spend just to get that knowledge. And this is the same knowledge that I'm, along with my friends, my peers in the digital craft, this is the same knowledge that we're giving out for free, and for a cost that's more like continuing education rates, nowhere near the mortgage size rates that kids or new adults are having to acquire just to get this knowledge, this good knowledge. And in my case, I say there are a handful of things that I learned in the second college I went to, which I'm going to keep these nameless. I mean, you do a little research, you figure out where I went. But the second college taught a lot the way that I teach, and they teach about real world experiences, and their instructors were previously professionals in the fields that they were teaching, and that was in a sense invaluable to me. It was exactly what I needed. However, what I didn't need was a loan that could have bought me a home. I did not need to be kicked out into society having no idea what to do with this new knowledge I have. The most talked about course of action after that was to get an internship and work for 6 months to a year for free or very little money, and at the same time figure out how you're going to make these loan payments, which would be impossible to make. And in my loan, I say mortgage-sized loan, I'd say it's a little less than what my wife and I paid for the home we live in. And we live in Indiana, Fort Wayne, whatever. Our houses are not very expensive here, but still, it's a lot of money. And my degree, next to someone in the going into the medical profession, I can't even imagine the amount of debt acquired just to learn, just to become a citizen in this country, to become an ambitious person, not live off of the government, not be forced to, not have to, not have no other opportunity or option than to live off the government, but somebody with ambition and the tools needed to take that ambition and do something good with it. It's not right. Again, I want to make it clear that I'm not necessarily bashing the colleges. It's the money angle. But a lot of these colleges are actually very standardized too. They're not much different than the school systems that we left as children. There's all these restrictions, rules, politics, all these things that kind of craft what they put together as their curriculum, and that's sad too. So essentially, you're still many times put into a box and put down the assembly line, even in college or probably university if you're over in Europe. And that's, again, that's why we promote this idea of independent education. Learn on your own time. Not everything we do is for free. We obviously, this is our ambition. This is our, when I say our, the Digital Craft, the guys working with me here. This is our path. This is what we've chosen to do. I worked for close to 10 years, roughly 10 years as a professional in various fields, and I want to teach that to other people. I want to not only teach it, but give it to people at a rate they can afford, and in a manner they can understand, along with giving tools of the trade, the actual trade, the experience. A lot of times, that experience that professors do not have in the regular universities. So this kind of blends into the other topic of like bullying and things like that. I did, as usual, I didn't really have a plan, just some talking points for this show, speech, lecture, whatever I'm doing at the moment. But I'll leave the talk about education and just say, that again, not to plug or promote it too much, but the whole idea of independent education is what we're striving for here. And though we may have brought this term to life, we want it to be a shared term. We don't want ownership over it. It's more of institutions of independent education. The whole goal is to allow outlets for professionals like myself and others out there teaching. There's a bunch of other great groups and individuals out there teaching like Bucky at the New Boston and PHP Academy. I mean, those are just some of the ones in our own field. But it's the idea of all of us. Not only do we feel you should have the ability to learn at your own pace, learn what you want to learn and how you want to learn it. But who? By who? From who? I'm not advocating that every single potential programmer or designer or whatever watches our courses, helps us generate ad revenue on YouTube or takes our paid courses, whatever. It's not about the money. I mean, it is in the sense that we are a for-profit organization and we have to pay our bills, feed our children, etc. But the whole goal is really the fact that we're out there. And that's why we've come up with the little acronym of IOIE, Institutes of Independent Education, with a little stamp people can put on their website. Whether that takes off or not, who knows? I don't know. But we're trying to think of ways that we can start pushing this idea more. Yes, it benefits us, but I want it to benefit everybody. I want it to benefit the potential students, the pupils, the other instructors out there, whether it be a group of instructors or individuals teaching on their own. We just really want to push this and allow this as an outlet for children who may still be in school and need a way to, kind of like the computer I had at home, be able to come home and though maybe they're not getting what they need out of the standard school system, they can find avenues and institutions or individuals like us who are teaching and make this knowledge available to them. And hopefully this goes past the programming and design world. People like the guy, I can't think of his name, but the Khan Academy, a brilliant math man. We need more people like him too, teaching all these avenues, so that the kids have to be in school legally. They're forced to be there, and it may be horrible for some of them who get the short end of the stick as far as bullying and stuff. They can come home and find something else, find a way to learn from people like us who are impartial. We're just trying to teach. We don't have any rules other than hopefully doing a good job teaching. And if you don't like my style, find somebody else. That's the beauty of it. It's independent. It's learning on your own terms. So that's my speech on that. But when it comes to the bullying, I hesitated to bring this up in one of our shows because again, it's more of a technology education oriented show, but really, whatever. It's our show, so. I watched a movie or a documentary on bullying, and for the most part, I agreed with a lot of what was going on in there, a lot of what they showed. I agreed with why it was wrong. Every documentary to me, though, seems to have an angle, so I tried to look at it without any angle, and what I found without any angle was a lot of desperate children and parents who need an answer for this bullying problem. And I was curious when I started watching it. I wanted to see how has this problem evolved, been handled, mishandled in the last 2 decades since I was in school and in the thick of it. And I realized that it hasn't changed. I thought maybe it did because when I go to my children's school, I see signs and things, all over the place saying, anti-bullying or no bullying, things like that. So it's at least the term is out there. But watching this movie, seeing some of the things that go on in school with my own children, it's still there, and it's still very, very bad, and if not worse. Because now things are so strict and so limited. Bus drivers can't even do anything to the children on the bus anymore. They can just drive. They can't actually engage the children in most cases. I remember seeing in that movie a parent talking to a principal saying, what's going on? When I rode the bus, everybody stayed in their seat, and if they didn't, the bus got pulled over until everybody did. And we didn't get to school until everybody fell in line and did what they were supposed to do. There was discipline. And I, for one, can say that there was very little discipline on the buses when I was in school, whether private religious schools or public schools. Public schools private schools were the worst as far as the torment. A lot of privileged kids in there, acting as privileged kids often do. However, there was some moral backing there, and the bus drivers had a little more power. However, with the public school, it was a little different because you had all different types of people. We were busing from all over the place, just all sorts of different personalities. And at the time, the bus drivers couldn't do much then. Now, as far as I know, they can't even do anything. They just have to drive. And this is for liability purposes. I don't think the bus drivers want to listen to this and see kids getting hit, stabbed, sat on, ridiculed, but because everybody has to be nice to everybody, as funny as that sounds, everybody has to stay out of everybody's way. Nobody can intervene anything because of politics. Everything is just a mess. And I, for one, I was sat on, ridiculed nonstop, punched, stabbed. I even have my very first tattoo is actually on my hand, and it's from a pen, an ink pen that I was stabbed with in shop class. It's bad. And from watching that movie and diving deeper into learning about this Stand for the Silent organization, which was brought about from parents of a child and children that had taken their own lives because of bullying. And as I had mentioned in a conversation through the comments on their Facebook group with another member, that I don't know that I was any stronger than some of those kids that didn't make it. I did have an outlet. I had other things. Something stopped me from doing bad things to myself, and I made it out. And luckily, because I made it out, and I realized that though when you're in school, when you're stuck in that institution, when you're forced to go there day to day to day, and no one's changing anything, you just sit there in this torment, that you don't think that there's anything else to life outside of this, that everything is going to be like that. And some people, unfortunately, find themselves in that situation as adults, but many people, if they let themselves, they get out of it and find that life as an adult does not need to be anywhere near as it was as a child. I was lucky in a way and cursed in a way. I found joy in drinking and partying and playing in bands when I got to the end of my college or high school life, and that changed things. I was able to engage in people and not be awkward and be funny, and people enjoyed being around me. Plus, they enjoyed what I was doing. It was more like, I liken it to kind of what a basketball player was in high school. I was outside of high school as an adult, playing shows and bars and clubs and other places around town, and I got to feel what those people felt and be on the other side of that spectrum. And though, I've been picked on every once in a while in my adult life, nothing compares to what it was like as a child. And I venture to say that most of those things that happen as an adult, I take way out of context because of my experience. So I try not to let things bother me very much at all, because I don't have braces. I don't, I'm not the same weird looking kid that I was I've grown up. I've got children and responsibilities, and I still get to play my music and have fun, and I'm 32 years old, and I'm able to teach professionals, business professionals, during the day or in the evening, and then go off and beat the living hell out of my drums in front of 10 people, 100 people, 50 people, depending on the night. I like what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing, and I'm lucky for that. It took me a long time to get to this point. I had to conquer things as an adult, as far as the whole lifestyle of being in bands and playing in bars. You don't have to be some national celebrity to get sucked up in that lifestyle, even on a local level. And so I had to overcome other stuff, and a lot of it stemmed from my time in school and my time with other people and my social anxiety from that, just being terrified of people. It was much easier for me to get a few drinks in me before I was around people, so that I felt more comfortable. And it wasn't until a decade later that I realized that most of the problems I had as a mid-20-year-old stemmed from that, instead of what had happened to me as a kid. And that's when I realized that I should probably take a different course, and that's what's allowed me to get to where I'm at now. So I can't totally blame school and things like that, and the children in school for my own decisions to get into drinking and all those fun things. I'll let everybody use their imagination for what somebody playing rock star for 10 years does. But I will say that it started it, or at least had a part in it. And what a lot of people don't understand, even parents of children that go through that stuff, don't understand. And I can talk about it now because it's so far away these days that the only time I really ever talk about it is in situations like this, where I feel like somebody needs to hear a story from someone who went through it. I've got some mental scars still there, some hang-ups that will probably be with me my whole life, but for the most part, I could really care less about what happened to me personally. But I do care about what happens to other people right now, and other people my age that may not have been able to get themselves out of that situation, like I have, at least at this point. Who knows what's for me tomorrow. But I will say that, much like most of the children out there, I held probably 70 to 80% of what happened to me. I held it in. I didn't tell my parents everything. I didn't tell the school everything, especially the school. I didn't want anybody knowing. I didn't want any more attention drawn to me, because the school was just going to call in the people doing the things. And the ones that were the worst were the ones that would keep doing it if I drew attention to it. Some of the other ones were just hanger-ons. They were the ones hanging around that person or those people, and they would poke fun every once in a while too. But it started in kindergarten. I was coming home crying and wiping my tears off before my parents would see it. In kindergarten, I was in the bathroom. My bathroom break was around the same time that I believe it was the 4th or 5th graders. And this was in a private school, mind you. It was a small school. But we had our bathroom breaks around the same time as the 4th or 5th graders, and they would corner me in the bathroom and force me to smile. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it was because I had a big smile, overbite, buck teeth, kind of a gummy smile, and they decided they wanted to poke fun at it. So what would I do? I would at first I did it. I'm a little kid. I didn't know what they wanted out of me until they started laughing. And time went on, and and I would hold out, and then it would make it worse, and I just stopped going to the bathroom. I just hold it in until I go home. And that's kindergarten. That's how I started school. And boys will be boys, kids will be kids. Those are the answers. And those are still the answers today, I'm pretty sure. The ridicule got more clever and matured with age. The kids around me were different and older and had different things they could say, and some things that weren't even true, but if you say it enough, it still hurts. So, I don't want to go into every little detail of what happened to me as a kid. You can fill in the blanks as well. But it did stick with me, and mainly the scenario in kindergarten with the smiling. That's never going to leave me, and that's going to affect me. Maybe it'll go away. I don't know, but like the analogy of a tree and branches. Some of those branches are already bent and headed towards the ground or stuck in the ground. But I was able to get past most of that. And I attribute most of my ability to, one, the outlets that I had, and two, my parents. Whether they knew the right thing to do or not, they were trying. And they tried and tried. They never stopped trying. They still try. And that's very important. That's another problem that we have. Parents are a big issue, but with parents it's a little more difficult, and I don't really want to get into that as much, because what bothers me the most is that, much like a child who is orphaned or taken from his parents and put into the foster care system, or just the system in general, there should be certain regulations, certain standards when you take a child or person in general from the world, from their world. It's much the same as school. We're required to be there until we graduate or don't. But from ages 5 or 6 to 17, 18, 19 years old, we are required to be in this facility, whether it's public or private or a special, whatever, but you're required to be there. And as long as the government requires the people to put their children in these places, then they should be responsible 100% for what happens during that time. And then it's the parents' responsibilities after that. So I might talk about this later, a little bit more detail on another show, but I wanted to kind of touch on it a little bit, and I wanted to bring some attention to the Stand for the Silent organization, which I believe is standforthesilent.org, and you can also find their group on Facebook. So that organization is not necessarily just about bullying in general. It's for the kids that didn't make it out alive. And I was going to say make it out, but it really is. It's about the kids that did not make it out alive. I don't want to say they gave up, because that's not fair. But they did, and I get it. And it's sad that they had to. And what I think goes unnoticed, and this isn't maybe not just bullying, but I have a lot of friends from my time and people I chose to hang out with when I was a young adult. A lot of people addicted to things, and we're starting to lose people. Just lost somebody this last year who was only 25, I believe. Whether she went through bullying or not, I don't know. I don't know what her circumstances are, but I do know a lot of people that took devices like I did, and some of them I'm sadly sure that if they don't quit, they won't make it. And I think you need to add them to the roster of the young ones that didn't make it, because we're still damaged as adults. Those branches are still bent. As well as the people that keep getting stuck in the system, the court system, because whether you do something wrong or not, the court system will eat you alive if you're not able to get out of it. They don't leave a lot of room for you to turn into back to a normal citizen, and that's sad too. But that's another topic for another day. But I'll end this one now. But I don't know. Seeing that movie, plus listening to some of those talks about education, just made me want to do this show. There's no music. It's not the same format. I don't have any guests. Don't have any co-hosts. I just really wanted to talk about school, my circumstances, or my situation, and hopefully that can mesh or sit alongside some of the situations that parents and children are going through right now, and potentially show some insight, or at least just show that you can make it out. I was definitely in the situation that any of those kids in that movie I watched were in. Most I can relate most to the Alex kid. He's just awkward, lanky, and just stabbed, punched, sat on, called names that didn't even make sense. So listen to your kids, and if they're not talking, get them to talk. As far as bullying goes, as far as the school system, I don't know what to do. All I know is that we're going to continue to keep offering outlets. I'm going to start volunteering at my children's school in the art class with the art teacher here, and try to get myself more infiltrated into there. I don't want a job there. I don't want to be restricted by the politics, but I don't mind standing by and watching, observing, and helping, and trying to keep, for one, arts alive in the schools, because they're dying a lot, fast. Art and music and theater, things like that, all these enriching things that students will not be bored with, that a lot of people need outlets and are dying and going away, because we're further standardizing schools, and kind of cookie cuttering kids. And if you don't fit that mold, you get trimmed up and tossed aside as scrap. And that is the show for today. Thank you.